Arsenal face West Ham in another huge London derby this weekend. But could the Espirito Santos team be a potential banana skin in our title chase? Let's break it all down. Welcome back to All About Arsenal. This Saturday, Arsenal are going to host West Ham in what promises to be a very fiery London derby. Kickoff is 3 p.m. and where the Premier League table is looking right now, every point matters. Prior to Espirito Santo joining the club, this was one of the fixtures we were looking forward to because Graham Potter had been in terrible form with West Ham. Unfortunately, Potter had been sacked, and in Espirito Santo's first game, he had a good draw against Everton. And despite the fact that I feel we would win, it might not be as easy as I initially hoped. Since losing to Liverpool in the third game week of the season, Arsenal has won 5 of their last 6 games. This included a victory over Nottingham Forest after the international break, then a last gaps draw against Manchester City. This was followed with an EFL Cup clash against Port Vale in the third round where Arsenal won 2-0. And this was followed up with that amazing last-minute win against Newcastle. Newcastle has always been a bogey team for us, but as you're currently aware, despite the fact that VAR and the entire universe were trying to basically rebel against us, we managed to still get the victory. Late goals from Mikel Merino and Gabriel handed Arsenal all 3 points. And with Edin Ketia doing the lost work at Selhurst Park against Liverpool, Arsenal has cut down the lead to just 2 points. Obviously, there was the business of the Champions League to attend to, and on Wednesday, Arsenal hosted Olympiacos in what seemed to be a keenly contested game, but goals from Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka handed Arsenal all 3 points. Now we are back to the business of this weekend, playing against West Ham United. The big question is this: will Arteta rotate his squad again or play his strongest XI? If you look at the game against Olympiacos, Arsenal rested Declan Rice, Jurrien Timber, Ricardo Calafiori, Bukayo Saka, and Eberechi Eze. And from all indications, these players are going to start over the weekend. I'll talk more of that when we get to the predicted lineups, so stick around. So injuries, Arsenal is still going to be without Piero Hincapié, Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, and Noni Madueke. But Arsenal had a lot of players this season to basically contain the injuries those guys have had. If it was the previous campaigns, we would have really been sweating, but right now we have the right level of depth to handle such. The beginning of the Premier League campaign saw Arsenal play some very, very difficult fixtures, starting with an away trip to Manchester United, followed up with a home win against Leeds, followed up with an away tough clash against Liverpool, followed up with another home win against Nottingham Forest, and so it was followed up with a tough home game against Manchester City, and of course our bogey ground, St. James Park. Now we're seeing the fixture run has kind of eased off a bit, and it starts with this game against West Ham. Mikel Arteta knows that Arsenal needs to actually get an amazing result against West Ham because doing this will take us to the top of the Premier League for a couple of hours at least, up until when Chelsea hosts Liverpool. Obviously, the Enzo Maresca side have also actually been in a poor run of form as well, but we'll be hoping that they will have enough in the tank to at the very least get a draw against Liverpool, which will make things very interesting at the top of the Premier League table. West Ham, on the other hand, have been in very shambolic form. Under the reigns of Graham Potter, they had lost 5 of their first 6 games. Their opening game against Sunderland, which was a shocker, ended 3-0 to the Black Cats, making their Premier League return. This was followed with a 5-1 win for Chelsea at the London Stadium. They visited Wolves in the EFL Cup. Wolves was also under struggling team and lost 3-2. And this was followed with a short 3-0 victory over Nottingham Forest, which actually cost Espirito Santo his job. Instead of building on that win against Nottingham Forest, West Ham lost at home to Tottenham 3-0, although the red card to Thomas Tuchel kind of made things a whole lot harder for them. And this was followed with yet another home loss to Crystal Palace. This essentially meant that in the 3 games they played at home this season, they've lost all. And looking at how they kind of struggled toward the tail end of last season as well, the West Ham board lost patience with Graham Potter, and so the players also lost confidence in him, and now he's out of his job. Their new manager, Espirito Santo, who had his own drama with Nottingham Forest, actually had a very, very good game against Everton. 1-1 that match ended in the Monday night fixture. Jared Bowen, of course, scoring a very important goal for them. But West Ham now would want to build on the good result they got against Everton. And the Emirates is not a ground that they will want to visit, but it's what it is. You have to play every fixture in front of you, and I expect Espirito Santo to bring his Nottingham Forest defensive style into this new West Ham team. That was actually on show when West Ham visited Everton, and I would expect Arsenal to see the lowest of low blocks tomorrow when they host West Ham. West Ham is a team that can frustrate big sides with their set piece threats and their physicality. So Arsenal, despite being the attacking side of this game, we need to also be disciplined defensively. To injury news, West Ham has only one major injured player, which is George Etty, a youngster who is currently nursing a hamstring injury. But they will clearly be without Thomas Suchek, who is serving the third game of the match three-match ban he had. Yeah, against Tottenham. He got a red card for violent conduct, and so far he has missed the Crystal Palace game and has also missed the Everton game. So this is the third game that he's going to miss with his suspension. To predicted lineups, I would expect David Raya to continue to start and go. He preserved his clean sheet against Olympiacos with that amazing save from Daniel Podence. And despite the fact that I really love Kepa Arrizabalaga, I think Raya should still remain in goal for a match as important as this. In the defense, I would expect to see Ricardo Calafiori and Julian Timber return to action after getting well-deserved rests in midweek. Obviously, we have the likes of Miles Lewis-Kelly and Ben White, who are more than capable of actually starting this game as well. But when you think of the fact that Calafiori and Timber were rested, they should probably be the ones that would get the nod. Arsenal is going to have a very crazy schedule. Midweek, weekend. So Ateta needs to really manage the squad well. And that's why this is happening. After this game, we're going to go for the international break. Obviously, hope that all our players will come back unscathed. But when we return for the international break, we have another London derby at Craven Cottage against Fulham. Then we'll host Atletico Madrid in midweek. Then we'll host Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Then we'll host Brighton in the EFL Cup. Then visit Toughmore to play Burnley in the Premier League and travel all the way to Prague to play Slavia Prague. So you can see that the schedule is going to be very, very stacked for us now, and Arteta needs to rotate the squad effectively. In centre back, I would expect to see Gabriel and Saliba. Gabriel had that injury when I think Raya caught the ball and landed on him. But the good thing about that situation was that, yes, we have an amazing player in Mosquera who came for him immediately. But rather than going into the dressing room, Gabriel went to the bench. So I'm just guessing that he was rested. And obviously, we put an ice peeled for Mikel Arteta's press conference to be sure that, Gabriel is okay. But even if he doesn't start, Arsenal has Christian Mosquera, who has been a revelation since he joined the club this summer for just £50 million or £30 million or thereabout. But he has been such a bargain. Early in the season, we lost Saliba to injury, and Mosquera came in and just slotted in like a duck in a river. And obviously, you could see how his amazing performances have been. So if for any reason Gabriel cannot play this game, I'm not going to lose sleep because Mosquera can play alongside Saliba. They did that in the Carabao Cup game against Port Vale, and when, of course, Gabriel was still in 70th minute against Olympiacos, Mosquera came on as well. In midfield, I'd expect Martins Zubimendi to continue in his pivot role. That guy has just been so perfect. He has basically been our best signing this season. Going away from Thomas Partey and Jorginho to Martins Zubimendi has been a massive upgrade for the club. And alongside Zubimendi, I'd expect ex-West Hammer, Declan Rice, and of course, Martin Odegaard to play in midfield. Let's talk about Martin Odegaard. What was that performance against Olympiacos on Wednesday? That was like the Odegaard that we love, the Odegaard that we've craved for quite a while. He was in his imperious best, should have actually scored a goal when Saka gave him that cutback. Well, of course, he gave an assist to Saka, had so many amazing passes, dominated the midfield, showed a true captain's performance. And I'm really hoping that he can build on that as we go into this new game against West Ham tomorrow. In attack, Martinelli has been in very good form, but I think Iberichi Eze will start ahead of him on the left wing. Bukayo Saka got a well-deserved rest on the right wing and came on as a sub to score the virtual match win against Olympiacos. But he's going to start this game as well. The good thing about it is that we have enough depth in the bench. Maneri, Dalma, Martinelli, and even Trossard can come in from Saka if you want to play maybe 70 minutes. Obviously, if Madueke injured, we need to manage Saka's minutes very well. And and I'm happy to see how he has been managed. Obviously, if you remember how teams used to be with Saka in the past, 1990, 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. But we had a reckoning when he suffered that terrible hamstring injury last season and was out for 4 months. And Saka is our talisman. So obviously, we don't want a repeat of that anymore. So I would expect Mikel Arteta to continue to manage his minutes, bearing in mind that we now have a squad that is deep enough and has the right quality to play without Saka. In attack, we are short with Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus still out injured, but with Gyökeres should start this game. I think he's due a goal. His last goal was against Nottingham Forest, and he has been itching for one since. I'm sure he'd have played that penalty against Newcastle if it was given, but minus the goals, his overall play has drastically improved. His Newcastle game to me was one of the best I've seen him in the club. Minus the Leeds game where he scored 2 goals, no doubt. But Gyökeres will be itching to score a goal, and I really hope that he gets one. To West Ham, there have been an interesting battle between Hermansen and Areola for the number one spot. Hermansen was bought by Graham Potter and was favoured, but he considered way too many goals. Obviously, when he was in Leicester, it was basically the same thing. But I expected him to actually, do well in West Ham. But seeing him like to start to play Areola in the very first game, I'm sure he was watching the training sessions and he expected that, and he was seeing that maybe Areola is actually better. But that's a problem. I really don't care because Areola is going to bag in a couple of goals tomorrow. In defense, El Hadji Malik Diouf has been an amazing player, 4 assists or thereabouts so far this season, and he'll continue to strut his stuff. So the likes of Timber and Saka need to be very wary of him because he has an amazing cross on him as well. In right back, I would expect Kyle Walker-Peters to continue. Erwan Bissaka is still nursing an injury, and I don't think he'll be able to start the game. In centre back, we'll see our next Arsenal player, Konstantinos Mavropanos, play alongside Mas Kilman, in centre back. Kilman is very good for defensive contributions and all that, but he has really struggled this season alongside Mavropanos. West Ham has shipped way too many goals. With Susek injured, I would expect to see Magasa play as the holding midfielder, to basically be the destroyer. He will have an intense battle against the likes of Odegaard, Rice, Bimendi. But in central midfield, I expect to see new signing Matheus Fernandes alongside Lucas Paqueta provide the flair for West Ham. On the flanks, Crescencio Somerville will play on the left, and club captain Gerald Bowen should be on the right. Gerald Bowen remained the inspirational player for West Ham. Despite their poor form, he continues to churn out those goals. Last season, I think he had almost 20 goal contributions or thereabouts, and West Ham will be hoping that he can actually come up with the goods. When West Ham actually visited Arsenal last season at the Emirates, Bowen actually scored in that game as well. So Arsenal are very, very aware of what Bowen can do. And I expect to see Niklas Füllkrug lead the line. He hasn't scored as much, but they will have to make do with him. To key tactical battles, obviously the storyline will be Declan Rice against his former club. You all know how he was a West Ham faithful, led them to Conference League victory, I think 3 seasons ago or thereabout. But now he belongs to us. Obviously, they paid top dollar for him. With £105 being the record transfer fee paid for a British player. Although Alexander Isak broke that when Liverpool signed him from Newcastle this summer. Obviously, we were hoping for Declan Rice to dominate the midfield against his former teammates. To be interesting to see how that pans out. Saka is an amazing player. He'll be locking horns against Diouf. I would expect him to cook Diouf several times. Same with Eze and Walker-Peters. But in Diouf and Walker-Peters, West Ham has very fast fullbacks that can actually contend with good opposition wingers. So that will be interesting to see how that pans out. Gabriel and Saliba, I expect them to have more than enough to handle the likes of Füllkrug. But Calafiori has to be very careful. Jarrod Bowen is a very dangerous player. And if we ignore him, to be to our own peril. So I'm sure there'll be a game plan to tackle the threats that he can actually offer. For my score predictions, I think this should be a routine 2-0 victory. Maybe a goal from Gyökeres and maybe Saka. I'm sure Arsenal will keep the clean sheet. Our defense has been staggering. 9 games played so far this season, only 1 open play goal, and of course 2 set pieces. That has been amazing to see Arsenal do that. I'm sure Arsenal know that they have to keep that record intact when they host West Ham. This team is strong enough to get a victory against West Ham, And of course, having those 3 points, which take us to the top of the table temporarily, will be very amazing. And I'll be hoping for us now to actually do that. So that's Arsenal versus West Ham preview. What are your own predictions? Will Rice shine against his old team? Please drop your thoughts in the comments. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us at All About Arsenal for more Arsenal content. Till then, come on, you Gunners.